So maybe the interview I expected least, was most surprised by, but kind of weirdly delighted by, was Harvey Weinstein. How did that happen? What was the thinking?
The backstory of that actually is somebody in Harvey's orbit reached out to me while I was at the Daily Wire and said, I'd really like you to get on the phone with Harvey. I'd love for you to think about sitting down and interviewing him and doing all this stuff. And, at that time I thought he was guilty of sin, like everybody else did, because there were just so many women, and was thinking, wow, he must be pretty desperate to want to reach out to me. I know he's left leaning, I'll do it. Sure. Fine. And I got on the phone with him in prison and was very surprised that clearly this friend was kind of lying, and Oprah was being floated to do the interview. And he's like, why on earth would I give you this interview? He was very, very powerful. And I always describe it as Harvey has a growl about him. He's still very powerful. And he kind of lashed me and said, I support the ADL, and talked about Kanye and talked about my support for Trump. He was all over the place. Still a leftist in his prison cell. And I was kind of amazed by this.
He lectured you about the ADL from prison?
From prison. It was incredible. My autobiography is going to be amazing. If I ever sit down and write one, that's definitely a highlight. I'm getting lectured by Harvey Weinstein. He's in prison. And then I was sort of I realized at that point that I was trying out for one of his movies in a way. And I had to kind of sell myself of why I wanted to do the interview. And then I thought this was so strange. And then I hung up and I looked into the case, because that person then sent me the stuff, and I was just shocked. I've never seen a crazier conviction in my entire life. He literally got convicted because people were crying, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. One case, his argument is, I wasn't even there. I wasn't even there. It's not even like he's like, I know this woman. He's like, I don't even stay at that hotel. And I don't know this woman. And the judge would not allow him, talking about the corruption of courts, to subpoena her cell phone records to see if she was even there. And that was the person that got him 15 years in LA, the cases are incredible. You were raped by him over the course of 10 years. Help me understand this. And none of these women are young, by the way, because then I'm like, maybe there was an argument they were 17 and he manipulated, they were so young. These women were 30 years old. We know what this is. This is a sugar baby traditional relationship. This is how it's always been in Hollywood. Young girls want careers. They sleep with directors. They do that stuff consensually. And I think in the case of Harvey Weinstein, because he actually cared very deeply about his movies, they assumed he was going to give them these roles, and he didn't. He was just sort of like, yeah, I'm Harvey Weinstein. These girls threw themselves at him thinking there was going to be an exchange, and there just wasn't one. And then if you look back in your life and now you're 50 and you slept with Harvey Weinstein, not the hottest Brad Pitt looking person, you're like, what did I get for this? And you kind of then see this movement taking off, and it's Me Too. And suddenly it's, he had the power, and yeah, so what? I sent him a couple of emails saying, I love you after he raped me, which they did. Yeah, because that's what
actually?
I guess. Yeah, no, love you, miss you. But constantly the emails, when you read through them, because there's a trove of them, are always them trying to be like, hey, I hear there's an upcoming audition. I'd love to attend the audition. Or I'm going to Cannes. Can you get me some tickets? It is what it is. This was your traditional oldest trade in the book, is what I would say. The oldest trade in the book.
So okay, for a hardened anti-Semite Nazi like you,
I'm failing at it.
You're defending the ADL defender, Harvey Weinstein. What? How did you, why? So a lot of people look at this, and first of all, I just want to say I support it. I'm joking, and I support it only because I think that justice matters. Mm-hmm. I know Harvey Weinstein, he's a pig, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't mean he's a criminal.
Right.
And I just think it's important to convict people when they violate the law, and not to convict them when they don't.
Right.
And truth is the most important thing. So I support it. But it is of all the stories, what drew you to that?
Well, because he was the beginning of the Me Too movement. And I've had a gripe from the Me Too movement from the day that it trended on Twitter. You can go back. I am left and right. People were scared to say anything about the Me Too movement when it first happened because it was about rape. And people are instantly uncomfortable. And left and right, people were just sort of reticent to say, oh, but don't we need to have due diligence here? And people were losing their jobs left and right on the basis of an allegation because it was hashtag trending, hashtag Me Too. And right away, when it first started trending,
it was mob justice.
Yep. I said something against it, and I almost got canceled. I will never forget this. Charlie Kirk, we had to get together with the PR agents. I was at Turning Point. He had Turning Point girls that were quitting, crying, saying, how could she not support the Me Too movement? Like I was sexually, it was totally, and credit to Charlie Kirk, like he held down the line. Because, like I said, if you stand on truth, eventually people catch up and realize that something's really wrong with this movement. But Harvey was this case where I think the entire world agreed that he must have been guilty of something. There were just so many women that were coming out saying that this took place.
And his personal style was so, he's like eating with his mouth open, smoking in the elevator. I mean, I saw him do it. Mm-hmm. And so I think because he is just like this piggish, overbearing, crass guy, which is not a crime.
Yeah. You just want to see him go down.
Well, then he must have done it.
Right.
And like, are you really going to take the side of Harvey Weinstein?
Right.
He's today's villain.
And I thought I was just doing an interview where I was going to push back, get to the truth. And when I looked at these cases, I was just shocked. 90 women who came out and said he did something, and it actually boiled down to 3 cases. And in the 2 New York ones that he got 26 years for, I mean, just you read the emails, it's crazy.
Here's a revealing and unpleasant fact. Mexico is facing a dangerous outbreak of New World screwworm. Ugh. Screwworm is a flesh-eating parasite. It's devastating to livestock and to humans. Ugh. Despite this, the Department of Agriculture has reopened foreign livestock imports, including from Mexico. Does that sound wrong to you? Does it sound revolting? Well, yeah. Our friends at Merriweather Farms agreed. They sounded the alarm on what could clearly be a serious threat to your health. And it worked. After Merriweather's campaign, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins suspended Mexican livestock imports until we can certain that our food supply and our citizens are safe, including from screwworm. So the story tells a lesson, and it asks an obvious question. Why should you rely on untrustworthy foreign beef to feed your nation? The answer is that you shouldn't rely on it. If you agree, we hope you'll support Merriweather Farms. In a time when so many are selling out, they have the courage to stand up for what is right, and all of their meat comes from this country, the United States. We know because we eat it every single day. Visit Merriweather Farms, MERIWETHER farms.com/Tucker. Use the code Tucker for 15% off your first order. Real meat, real values, and it's delicious.
You just cannot come out of reading the emails from Jessica Mann and Evgenia, I'm blanking on her last name, and just go, what happened here? Like, what do you mean you convicted him of rape? On the basis of these emails alone, why would you then, has anybody ever, and Jessica Mann clearly is the first person ever who's done this, hit up their rapist after and been like, hey, I'm with my mom in town. Like, can we come by? Do you want to meet my mom? Because actually, that's one of the emails post-rape, It's hard for me to believe that that's rape. I don't believe if you're lucky I wasn't sitting on that jury. And I think it does a tremendous injustice to 2 people. First, women, right, who are actually raped.
Yeah, of course.
Because if we're now saying all of this is rape, and then people are just not going to be inclined to believe women who are actually raped. They're going to go, oh, another rape situation. Okay. So that's it. It's like you're softening what it means to be raped. But the second thing is I have 3 sons. This case mattered to me because my sons' lives are now threatened by this movement that said, #believe women. Women lie. They lie a lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and so why don't we do this crazy thing and just believe the facts and follow the facts of the case? And so I was very concerned when this movement just kind of got carried away. I even had to defend someone who I don't like, Matt Lauer. That was a crazy case. Yeah. Very clearly had a consensual relationship all over New York with that intern.
Yes.
But she was raped the first time. And then, all the other times, apparently it wasn't rape, but it doesn't really matter because here's a check, right? And that's what happened. And to this day, he carries on being branded a rapist. Like, people still say that about Matt Lauer because somebody made an allegation. And when you look at the facts, it's like, no, he was a scumbag. He was cheating on his wife. He was abusing his power, certainly, because the reason they probably wanted to sleep with him is because he was Matt Lauer of the Today Show. But to call him a rapist, is that fair?
I agree.
Is that okay? Can we at least all say, I don't care whether you're left or right, but that's wrong? And that was the challenge of the Harvey Weinstein
I know
case.
A lot about that story just because that's the world I lived in. I knew him. And everything you just said is true.
Of course. I mean, I am a woman. I clearly know that women will flirt with guys to get what they want, even if it's a drink at a bar. So you can only imagine Hollywood, where you welcome that climate of exchange. Women who are just want to be the next Angelina Jolie. They all think they're going to be the next Angelina Jolie, what they'd be willing to do for that part. And Harvey benefited from that. He was Harvey Weinstein. He's making the best movies that have been made in Hollywood. And honestly, I'd argue that movies haven't been great since Harvey went in, right? His movies were like, I mean, every classic movie that you can think of, Harvey Weinstein, the Weinstein Company produced. The what was it called? I can't think of the company's name. Miramax was his company, had produced. So it's a lot. It was a lot to unpack. And yet they still moved. Obviously the appellate judges said this case was completely ridiculous. It was rigged. Why'd you guys even allow these people into the courtroom just to convict his character, not based on the facts? And it got sent back down. But he just lost again on 2 of the cases. And so I just interviewed him, and that interview is coming out today, again, to ask him, okay, here's a broader question, Harvey, who hates you? Because this is so clearly somebody took you out. And that's how I look at the case now. Who were you involved with? Who did you piss off that wanted you to no longer be who you were in Hollywood? Because this is power. This is a structure. The judges are allowing this to take place for a reason. And his answers were quite interesting, and I think Harvey Weinstein did upset a lot of powerful people. And he was honest about that.
I get it. I have no trouble believing that at all, given his style, which is like totally overbearing and like awful. But throwing someone in prison for the rest of his life is, it's too much. He
said Gloria Allred told him if she paid him, and I view her as a gangster of sorts. Everyone knows how she moves. When she's on a case, she doesn't lose. That if he had paid her, and I want to say it was $1 million, don't quote me, that it would go away. She could make it go away. He didn't do it. Yeah. That's what he told me on record. So it's people are going to hear it from his own mouth.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.